episode 206, Ironman Cozumel with first-time Ironman Elliot Bach. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in there for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Elliot Bach, professional triathlete, about his recent race in Ironman Cozumel that took place on November 18th, 2018. The temperature on race day was 71 and rose to 84, with the water temperature being 81 degrees. For his first Ironman, he placed 10th overall in the Pro Division with 9 hours and 12 minutes and 35 seconds. He's ready to share his experience about his day. Welcome back to the show, Elliot.
Thanks for having me back.
Hey, you're welcome, man. So I'm glad we actually get to talk about your first Ironman. Like, this came out of nowhere. You didn't tell anybody you were racing for this, and you just kind of snuck down to Cozumel and snuck it in there.
Yeah, something like that. It was on since May. It's kind of been on the schedule, but it was officially on it after I raced the half down at Cozumel about 7 weeks ago. Then it was officially on the schedule.
Wow. So how was your training going into this race, man?
Pretty standard leading up to it. And then about 6 weeks out is when I went into a little more of a run focus, a little bit longer riding, a little bit more Ironman specific. So kind of bringing the intensity down just a little bit, but the mileage went up a little bit actually.
Nice. So going into this race, being that you were mainly focused on 70.3s earlier in the year, how did you make the transition from 70.3s to the full? What was your mindset of wanting to make this change?
The mindset, I wanted to do one. It was kind of in the back of my head. I wanted to do it, but at the same time, I didn't. It's a long way. And then just kind of talking to my coach, we thought it might be a good thing to try. It's the end of the year. At least just do one, do a build into it, and see how it goes and see what we can learn from it.
Wow. So did you get the tattoo already?
No, sir. I am not going to get it.
So after you got on the podium up at Ireland, you went back down to Cozumel, did the 70.3 down there, and then you went back down for the full. What was all this training like for you?
The training, the biggest thing for me is I started doing some pretty long rides. I'd done some early in the year, but I did a few really long rides and then backed those up with a 2-hour run the next day, kind of on tired legs. And that was kind of the biggest shift I made. And then I did 2 blocks, I think 4 weeks out and 3 weeks out, where I did basically 3 days of some high intense riding with longish runs off 3 days in a row, just to try to get the miles and just build up a little fatigue.
So being that this was your first time doing a full, mentally, what workouts did you want to have in your box checked before you go down to Cozumel?
A couple ones that I had, and I did when I first thought about doing Ironman months ago. I wanted to do just an insanely long swim, just so that on race day, if I did it, the 3.8 Ks wouldn't feel that bad. So a couple months ago, I did a 10K swim just to do it. That kind of checked that box off. And then probably 4 weeks ago, I just told my coach, I was like, hey, I want to do a 7.5 hour ride just so I can do it. And then once again on race day, 180 Ks will hopefully not feel, near as long.
And for the run?
The run, I wanted to do a few longer runs. Leading up to it, my longest was 18. I wanted to do a few 20 plus, but talking to my coach and talking to other people that have done Ironman, they suggested that I just bank those miles that I had done, because I had done several, run 18, then run 10 or 12 the next day. So I wanted to run a little more, but then I trusted my coach and the people that I talked to.
Okay. So I know going into the 70.3 in Ireland and even the 70.3 in Galveston earlier this year, we had talked about the most hours that you trained in 1 week. Had that increased any going into Cozumel?
Overall, it didn't actually increase because back before Ireland, Galveston, I was actually doing 3 to 4 weight sessions a week. I do weights once a week now, so that kind of cut those hours down. And then overall, the swimming actually came down a little bit these last several weeks with more focus on the bike and run. So overall, the actual hours stayed about the same.
But it just shifted from going into the weights more to the actual swim, biking, running, and then it tapered from the swimming. Once you got the 10K swim, all right, you shifted that over a little bit, and then you got more biking and running heavy.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So how was your nutrition from day to day going into this race? Because you're staying about the same weight through the season.
Honest, typically when I'm doing long days of training a lot throughout this year, I take my science and sport, but then kind of my go-to for quite a while was any long run. Not long run, a long ride. I'd stop midway and eat fried chicken and get a Coca-Cola.
Fried chicken and a Coke in the middle of a bike ride.
It was just, I was doing it and it seemed to be working. So I kind of was doing that, always going out with my science and sport, but on, long days, it's kind of hard to carry all that extra stuff with you. So the last 5 weeks going into Cozumel, I actually was making sure that every workout I did, I was doing exactly what I was going to plan on doing on race day. So it was, the long rides, I was doing strictly the science and sport bars, the gels, the powder, and then same on the run, taking the mix with me, taking the gels.
So that was going to be your nutrition plan on the full?
Yes.
But what did you actually put in your special needs bag? Didn't you say you put a potato in there?
I did have a baked potato in there.
Just a raw baked potato?
Oh, no, I cooked it. You got to cook it. You cook it a few days before, wrap it up in some foil.
And bacon and sour cream.
I thought about that, but I just did a little olive oil and salt and pepper. I've been experimenting with that. A few of the long sessions I've done, I couldn't quite make it through on just the science and sport gels. After so many hours, I was like, I need something that's solid sensation. And after so many hours, the sugar, all that stuff, my stomach just kind of got a little sick of it.
So you need something that's not so sweet.
Yep. And so I started some of my long runs right when I was starting the run off in training. I would actually take that potato with me and eat it while I was starting my run. And it worked. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it on race day.
Wow. So as far as what your coach wanted you to get under your belt before race day and what you wanted to, was there a conflict there at all?
Not really. I've got a really good relationship with my coach where I kind of have a say, it's a 50-50 partnership. And so I can suggest something and he'll either say it's a great idea or absolutely not. So we've got a pretty good relationship. It's a very open, I can go to him and be like, hey, I need to ride longer because I feel like I'm not doing it. And he'll either say, all right, go ride longer, or he'll pull up a file from some workout I did is like, here's proof that you don't need to do it, or things like that.
Wow. So how quick is the communication with Purple Patch?
I talk to my coach just about every day.
Wow.
Yep, just about every day we have a phone call. It's normally me calling him, though.
That's pretty awesome. So knowing that this is going to be your first full, did you have any expectations for yourself as far as time goes or what you want to do with the race?
I think everybody has goals, whether they reach them or not. Going into their first anything, everybody definitely, whether they tell you or not, they've all got something in the back of their head. So yes, I had a few goals. Definitely did not reach all of them, but it was still a successful day. There were some very positive takeaways from it. So it was a good day.
Right. So what kind of expectations did you put on yourself?
One of them, the main one is I wanted to try to swim front pack, which based off of what I've been doing, I didn't think that would be that hard to do. 3 guys did get off the front. I didn't see them get off the front, but there was 3 guys that got off the front. I think they put 3 minutes into us, and then I was in a pack of, I think, maybe 10 or 12 guys. But that was a good pack to be in. I felt good there. So I thought swim The bike, I thought I'd ride a little better than I did. But things happen. And it, didn't go as planned. So once it wasn't going to plan, I just had to kind of reset and figure out what I was going to do to get through the remainder of the ride and set myself up to try to run a decent marathon.
Wow. So as far as a day-to-day nutrition versus race day nutrition, how are you monitoring what you're eating throughout the normal week when you're not actually working out, but just breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the week?
Just kind of like, are you saying like a diet, like kind of what I'm?
Yeah.
I'm
what's
eating?
your diet like?
It stays pretty much the same. Typically, I get up. I usually swim first every morning. So before I swim, it's usually just a bowl of oatmeal and some toast. Then I swim, come home, eat some eggs, more toast. And then for lunch, it's usually some kind of salad with a protein on it. And then dinner, I try to get either potatoes and rice and then a veggie and a protein. Stays pretty much the same. It's kind of a boring diet, but it works. And so I just stick with it. And that's what I do.
Yeah. So you just celebrated a birthday, right?
I did, Monday.
Nice.
Yes,
well, happy birthday.
Appreciate it.
So how old are you this time?
I'm 25.
25. Wow. So you're not even 30 years old and you're racing as a professional and you got 10th at your first Ironman. I mean, before you get to the finish line, how do you feel about that?
I was pretty happy to get one under my belt, not going to lie. There were some dark points on that run, which my coach warned me would happen. But I got there, the first 13 miles was great. I was having fun. 17 up to 17 was a little bit of a struggle. The worst part was about mile 20 to 23. And then I kind of got out of the hole. I was kind of just in a bad place. And then when I had about 5K to go, I was like, all right, I know I'm getting close to the finish line. And I kind of snapped back out of it. So it was an experience. I'll put it that way.
Wow. So, I mean, you obviously have had to already look at the times of your age group versus being a pro, right?
I actually did not. I have not seen them.
So I actually looked at that whenever I first knew that we were going to be talking about this race so I pulled up your age, and then I pulled up, okay, what age group would you be in and where would you actually place in your age group versus being a pro? And you would have actually won your age group and got a slot to Kona.
Oh, snap.
So you would have placed first with 9 hours and 12 minutes and 35 seconds, a good 5 minutes ahead of the next person versus being in 10th place.
I didn't think of it that way, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could have got your slot for Kona, but you had to turn pro.
Bigger picture,
Bigger picture.
I'll go to Kona one day.
Yes. So I know we've talked about your life-work balance in the past and all your actual swim, bike, run training and strength training and all that fun stuff and how much you miss training and all that, but pretty sure none of that's really changed. And if you want to hear that, you can go into the other episodes we've already recorded with that. So we'll go ahead and dive into the fun stuff of the actual race, man, of what was it like to travel down to Cozumel? I know you've been busy traveling.
I've been a few places. Travel down actually was pretty easy for the half Ironman. It was my first time going down there. So I flew into Cozumel, which is a good bit more expensive, a little bit more pricey to fly direct to Cozumel. But it was first time down there, so I did that. This go around, I decided I was going to fly into Cancun and do what most people do, take the ferry across. It actually wasn't bad. It's a 2-hour flight from Dallas and then I think a 50-minute taxi ride and then a 50-minute ferry ride. And it's kind of an experience. And it's still not super time consuming. And it was fun. I mean, there was live music on the ferry going across and I was with some buddies of mine. So it was a fun trip down. What
day did you get down to Cancun and go over to Cozumel?
I went down either the 13th or 14th. I went down on the Tuesday before the race.
Okay. So how many other triathletes were on your ferry?
There was probably about 20 of them on there actually at that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was surprised that many were there actually that far out from the race.
Wow. Any other Americans?
I didn't see any actually, no.
Oh, wow. Because I know this is like known for being a more Mexican-friendly environment versus
Yes.
a English-speaking environment.
Yes, for sure.
So you get down there on that Tuesday before?
Yes.
Did you get an Airbnb, a hotel, rental car? What does all this look like?
Actually got a rental car, so I went and picked that up that was at the Cozumel airport. But I had that arranged. And that was I guess I'll kind of backtrack. Like for the half, the main reason I did that one was because it was kind of, since Ironman was on the horizon, I was like, let's go down. It's pretty much the same course. Let's kind of get the lay of the land so that I know what I'm doing if I come back down. So I booked an Airbnb because I knew that was the way to go. I had an Airbnb right on the run course. I mean, couldn't have been in a better spot. And then rented a car so that I could get to and from where I needed to go.
Right, because this is a 2 transition race, and the swim start is not really near either one of them.
No, it's this race. It can seem a little overwhelming, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was a little overwhelmed.
Just logistically. But they do an excellent job down there with buses getting you to and from where you need to go. Because it's actually, you start the swim 2.4 miles upstream. You swim down. You have T1. T2 is in town about 7 miles from T1, and then the finish line is a little bit, close to transition, but so technically there's 4 points that you have to be at. So it can be a little overwhelming for sure. Wow. And what was your support crew like here?
Honestly, this was probably the best support crew I've had for a race ever. I had 2 of my athletes came down with me, and they came down just to kind of train and then enjoy the race. And then 2 days before the race, 2 of my brothers actually came down and one of their girlfriends. So I had five people down there taking care of me. It was pretty good. And then race day, they were all over the course. They had a scooter. So every time I kind of thought I was going into a hole, they just happened to be out there and they'd be screaming at me. They were all over the run course. So yeah, probably the best support crew I've had.
Wow. So you get down there, you get checked in to your Airbnb. What was the days like leading up to this? Because I know just like every other first timer I've talked to on the show. So just like every other first timer I've talked to on the show, they always get these butterflies and nervousness going into a full. Did you get this?
I'm sure there was a little bit there. But I just kept telling myself, even the few weeks leading up to it, the last few sessions, I tried to treat it as like I'm doing a half Ironman. I just kept telling myself that in my head. And I don't feel like I actually got that nervous. I knew what I could do if I had a good day. I was just trusting my training. And so I think I did a pretty good job. Even race day, I slept the night before, woke up and had everything set. So I was like, I'm not going to be stressed. And I don't feel like I was actually that nervous, honestly.
Wow. So as far as the athlete check-in, you go to the pro table check-in. What's the atmosphere at the village and check-in process here?
Oh, they're excited down there, man. Anytime I go to Mexico, the locals, the expos, it's like a party. The party starts, days before the event. There's live music everywhere, people hooting and hollering, and just super excited that they have a race they're putting on. They go above and beyond for sure.
Wow. So what all vendors were there? Did you notice any vendors there?
I walked through, got my packet, and I walked out. I didn't pay close attention to who was actually there. I was one of the first ones in when they opened. I think it was Thursday that they opened packet pickup. And I went in, got my stuff, and I left.
I've heard this trending phrase over the episodes I've recorded so far, and that's races die in the village. It's like that's where your dreams go to die, is in the Ironman village, because you'll sit around, walk around for hours and hours looking at nothing. And
yeah, it's all the, which the Ironman store, like I get that, tons of people love the official merchandise and that's great. I don't really care for it. It's just kind of like, get me in, get out so I can go put my feet back up or go back to what I need to get done. And so, I used to years ago, I would definitely, I would hang around, but at the end of the day, like you just said, it's all the same stuff and people will stand in there for hours doing nothing.
Yeah. So after you get all checked in, you go back, and when did you put your bike together?
So I actually got there. I got there about 3 p.m. on that Tuesday, and I actually put the bike together, and then I actually went out for a 2.5 hour ride. I did a loop of the course. So typically when I'm traveling, that's whether I'm, overnight flight, no matter how tired I am, first thing is as soon as I get to wherever I'm staying, the bike gets put together immediately. Just that way it's done. And then if for some reason, maybe something got messed up in travel, I can address it right then and figure out what I need to do. So that's just no matter what, whether I'm tired, grumpy, hungry, bike goes together first.
Wow. Why have you always done this?
Just so I can be prepared. If something's wrong, I like to have as much time as possible to, whether it's a flat tire and I need to get a tube and CO2 or, maybe a brake. I've had a brake lever break before. I just like to give myself as much time to get it fixed. That way then I can relax. Because if something's wrong, I won't relax or calm down until I take care of it.
Right. So you travel with your bike quite a bit.
I do. I've flown with it quite a bit this year.
And you got a new bike since we talked the last time.
Yes, I got Ventum back in, I want to say beginning of September. I got it right. I got it 4 or 5 days before Santa Cruz, and that was my first race on it.
Oh, wow. So how do you like it?
So far, I really like it. Big thing for me is I'm a bigger guy. I drink lots of fluids. And so with the top tube, which holds a little over a liter of water, that was kind of the main reason I went with it. And also it's a super easy bike to work on and travel with. And I'm not very bike savvy. And this one's super simple to travel with. The hydration's great. And so that's kind of why I ride it.
Wow. So as far as putting it together, what all tools do you need?
I only need, Allen wrenches. That's all I need.
So it's almost like some of the other bikes like QR where you only need one Allen wrench to put it all together.
Not quite as fancy as that.
Oh, okay.
You need a few different sizes.
Oh, okay. So whenever you get down there, you get your bike put together, all this fun stuff, get checked in. What are you doing for nutrition? Are you worried about the water quality here?
Not too bad. No. Water down there is great.
Okay.
Some places, yes, but water down there is great.
What about fruit, vegetables, anything like that? You trying to stay away from it?
Not as much. Cozumel's they have a grocery store that's just like a Walmart here. They have anything you can think of. So I'm that's kind of why I stayed in the Airbnb. That way I could make my own food. So, I went to the store and I get fruits, veggies, pasta, bread, everything I'm going to need. That way I can just cook it for myself back at the house.
Okay. So the day before the race, the pre-race swim was canceled. Did this impact your plans?
I did not. I actually was staying on the run course and actually on the water. So I had my own ladder and walkway to the ocean. So I was going to go down and do the swim if they had it, just because, just kind of be around everybody else. But then it got canceled and it didn't affect me any. As soon as it was canceled, I was like, all right. And I just went out and did my own swim at my own beach.
Wow. So how much was your Airbnb there?
The one I had it for a week, and I think it was about $1,500 US. And it was huge. You could sleep. We didn't even fill it up. It had enough beds for 12 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying I could have flown down there
100%
and been a Sherpa. I could be the best Sherpa ever, man.
Well, I've already got it booked for next year, so come on.
That's intimidating now. I might have to take you up on that. That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
So the day before the race, what are you doing from a nutrition aspect, and what are you putting in all of your bags?
That actually, I will say, I said I didn't get nervous or anything, and I guess that wasn't so much nerves, but the 5 bags for putting stuff in, bike, run, swim, special needs, that was definitely overwhelming for me. I got all those. I was like, what in the world? This is so many bags.
And there's different drop-off points and drop-off times.
Correct. Yeah, we had to, you had to drop off bike bag one place, run bag one place, special needs race morning. So Saturday morning, that was actually the first thing I did before I swam or anything is I got the bags ready, got my nutrition ready to put in the bottles the morning of, I put a potato in all of my bags just in case I wanted them. So, I mean, pretty straightforward, pretty standard. The gels, salt tabs, and then laid out my breakfast for the next morning just so I didn't have to think about it.
So what are you going to do for breakfast in the morning of the race?
I'd been experimenting with, I normally always do just oatmeal and like a bagel with peanut butter. But I was trying to get something with just a little more protein in it. So for this one, I did a pretty big bowl of oatmeal, 2 bagels, and then I scrambled 5 eggs.
Okay. So why would you want to add a little bit more protein in there?
Just because I haven't done a race with that long of a swim, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but personally for me, I get really hungry in the swim. So I wanted to just try to have something a little more since I was going to be swimming for, around an hour. And I'm not used to doing that. So that was kind of the game plan with that, to hope that when I got out of the water, I still wasn't hopefully starving at that point going into the bike.
Okay. So just go ahead and wrap this up pretty quick. The day before the race, what time are you going to bed and what time are you waking up? I'm assuming that you're going to bring the bike the morning of.
Actually, I think it's actually across the board. I think pretty much all Ironman's bikes have to be in, pro or amateur. So my bike had to be in Saturday, actually.
Okay.
Everybody had to have their bike in, no exceptions.
So you had to drop your bags off too then, is that right?
Yes. So Saturday, I had to check the bike in, and then bike shoes were optional. I went ahead and put mine down there. So that, and then you drop the run bag off at T2, and that's what you had to have dropped off before the race.
Okay. Now, with dropping this off, you left your potato in there as well overnight?
I did, yes.
Wow.
Because like for the run bag, they, once you check that in, your run shoes, whatever you use for the run, you don't see that until you get off the bike and start the run.
Right. So did you let PSI out of your wheels the day before the race?
100%.
How much did you let it out?
I let quite a bit out. I don't know the exact, but
a lot?
I get them pretty soft because, especially, Mexico's hot, and where my bike was, it was sitting right in the sun. And I think I checked it in at 2 p.m. So it was going to be in the sun for several hours. So I let most of the air out, and I just take a pump in with me in the morning. Did
you hear any other tires popping?
I actually did not. I normally do. I didn't hear any this time.
When I was at Chattanooga this year, I heard some for sure, like at least 4 while I was just dropping my bike off. I was like, man, people don't know to let air out of their tires. So
yeah, a lot of people don't. That's a pro tip. Let air out of your tires.
Yes. So as you're getting your way to the race night before race, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Gosh, I'm like confused here. The night before the race, how's your nerves at this point?
I stayed pretty calm. The best way I guess stay calm and don't get nervous is I don't change anything. I just go about normal. So I actually, I didn't eat dinner crazy early. I think we went to dinner at like 7:00 at night. So it's like, I'm very strict, but at the same time, I kind of let things go as they need to be. And that just kind of helps me not get worked up.
Right. So what time do you go to bed, get up, and get your breakfast in?
So actually, I laid down about 9, fell asleep about probably 10 p.m. So it was about an hour, just kind of laying there. And then I woke up at 3:45 to start eating.
Wow. So about 4 hours before the race starts for you?
Yes.
Nice. And then, I'll head down to transition. You get your bike ready. Did you have trouble finding parking, anything like that?
Like I said earlier, I had these awesome Sherpas with us. So they drove me down to transition. I set my stuff up, and they dropped me off right by my bike. And then I set my stuff up, and everything I didn't need, they took it and went and put it in the car for me.
Nice. That's freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So after you get done in transition, you got to head down to the swim start to kind of get your mind ready and all this fun stuff. How is your mindset and anxiety and excitement levels at this point?
Once I set the bike up, so the only way to get to swim start is you had to get on a bus. So I had to stand in line for a little bit, get on a bus. And I set my stuff up for the bike, and this was me not completely reading the athlete guide or remembering. I thought we started at 6:45. So I got down to swim start at about 6:15. That way I could stretch, take my gel and all that. So I did all that. And then I was like, why is like nobody else down here? Turns out we didn't start till 7:15. So, I messed that one up, but I was ready to roll it, 6:20. I was like, all right, let's go. But got down there. And then I do a little bit of stretching and I just kind of walk around to get the blood flowing. And then I try to just, talk to people. That kind of helps me just, I guess, stay calm. I try to talk to people and, wish them luck, stuff like that.
Wow. So another pro tip, read the athlete guide.
Yes.
Read the athlete guide. So you've been racing all year at plenty of events. Did you see anybody new?
I saw several people I know, amateurs and pros. I mean, the thing is with all the pros, I mean, there's a lot of us see each other, I guess, at most races we do. I mean, there's these guys, I've raced all those guys, I think, except for like 2. I'd raced all of them at least once this year already.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. So as the time gets closer for y'all get in the water, when y'all do get in the water, how's the excitement level for you? I mean, this is your first one. You're about to do an Ironman.
Yeah. They told us we were going to they were like, we'll give you a 5-minute warm up. So we were all expecting 5-minute warm up. And then they called off everybody's names. We went down on the dock and then they wouldn't let us in the water. So we're just all standing there wondering like, why can't we get in and start swimming? And then we got in the water and I mean, I don't even know if everybody was honestly in the water and they shot the gun to go. Like it was the weirdest start. And it turns out they didn't mean to actually start us that early. We were supposed to start at 7:15 and I guess it was like 7:15:20 and they just like, all right, let's go. But they were going to wait till the 16th minute. So most of us weren't even ready. I mean, a few people didn't even have their goggles on their eyes yet. Super weird start.
Wow. So it seems like it wasn't as organized as other races.
That would be the only part that was. I mean, everything else was great, but that was, they messed that one up a little bit for sure.
Nice. So what was your strategy for this race for the swim?
Strategy was for the first 2 or 3 minutes, try to go out pretty hot and then see where people are at. Obviously, I paced faster than I was going to swim for the whole time. But I went out pretty hot just to kind of see where people were at and then did that for probably 2.5 minutes. And then I realized that I was already in a group and we had already actually not gotten rid of people, but there was already like a separation a couple minutes into the swim. So I just was like, all right, this is a pretty good pace. It's not killing me, but it's not easy. And I'm just going to stay with these guys and follow them and not let them go.
Wow. Now, did you wear a watch for the swim, a swim skin or anything like that?
I did. I wore a swim skin and then I wore my watch as well to try to get just that way I could see what my time was getting out of the water.
Okay. So how does the swim go for you?
It went pretty well. We definitely didn't swim as straight as I wanted to. I kind of followed the group. A few times I got off the group because the way the current was, it was pushing us, but also more so pushing us into the shore. So we kept like swimming straight and then we'd get pushed to the left. So if you look at the file, you would think I didn't know how to swim because we were all over the place. So it still worked out, but if I would have been in that instance again, I would have probably just stayed to the right and just swam straight and done my own thing. Because actually one of the other guys did that, and I noticed he just stayed on the far right the whole time. And I was like, all right, we're going to leave him. But our zigzagging, we actually came to the pontoons like at the exact same time. So I should have followed him.
Wow. So as far as the swim goes, I know this is beautiful blue, clear water here. Could you see the bottom?
Oh yeah, you can see the bottom the whole way, and it's surprisingly kind of where they do it. They keep you pretty close to the beach. So I mean, if I had to guess, the majority of that swim, the water probably wasn't more than 6 foot deep.
Oh wow. Yeah. So that's not deep at all.
No, only like maybe the last 800 where you have to go around this big dock. That's where it gets a decent amount more deep. But for the majority, yeah, the bottom was, it was right there.
So you didn't have to worry about, you could stand up.
I probably could have come close to standing up for sure. Yes.
Wow. So how did the swim go for you overall? You finished in right under 47 minutes here.
I was pretty happy. I was actually a little gassed coming out of the water. I guess swimming that long and then trying to stand up and sprint was kind of hard to do. at the very last, probably 100 yards, I kind of lost a little bit of contact with that group. So I think there was 10 or 11. I was the last one in that group. But I was happy with it. Somebody said I was 2.5 or 3 minutes down from the lead. Ran through. I didn't have much to do to get ready for the bike. I had my helmet in my bag and I had to take my swim skin off. So I came out and I think somebody said, I think I started the bike in 4th. So I passed a bunch of those guys in transition. But I got out pretty hot on the bike as well.
Wow. So for the bike ride, are you even worried about chamois cream?
No. I don't usually. I've had, I guess, good luck with not really chafing. So none of that.
How do you get to that point of not worried about chafing at all? I mean, is it the kit, the saddle, the time in the saddle?
I mean, I think it's all the above. I think it's time in the saddle. I think it's the right kit, all the above.
And
they all play
the right fit.
They all play a factor. Yep, and the right fit. They all play a huge factor.
Wow. So you head out on the bike ride. I mean, are you using socks here or no?
I thought about it. I went back and forth. That was like, I kept going back and forth. Do I put socks on? Do I not? And then I just decided, I was like, you know what? I never wear them for a half Ironman, so I'm not going to do it now. So I didn't do the socks.
Okay. So with this race, were you worried about wearing sunscreen because you're going to be out on the bike longer and you're also going to be in Mexico?
It crossed my mind, but I didn't want to take the time it would take to put it on, so I forwent that.
But you're wearing a sleeved kit, though.
And I'm wearing a sleeve kit, so really the only thing, I mean, not a lot is exposed because you're wearing an aero helmet, so majority of your neck's covered, your ears are covered. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of places you could actually get burnt.
Right. So whenever you get on the bike ride, what was your strategy from a power aspect going into the bike ride?
I had a number that I wanted to ride, but I also had in the back of my mind, like, I know some of those guys I'm close to the point that I can ride with, but I came out with that group and I was like, all right, I'm going to go with these guys because we have a pretty big gap on everybody else. So for the first probably 15 minutes, I wasn't really watching power. I was just riding very hard to stay with that group. It definitely hurt me a little bit on the back half of the ride, but I would have done the same thing if it happened again, because a couple times in the first, 20-ish miles of the bike, I looked back and there was nobody in sight, and you can see for quite a ways on those roads down there. And so I would have done the same thing again. If I would have ridden at 280, I might have ridden a little better overall, but that group would have left me. So, it was just kind of a, do I go, do I not go? And I had made the decision beforehand that if I'm in that position, I'm just going to go with them as long as I can.
Okay, so going into the race, you actually had a number in mind of what your normalized power, I'm assuming, or average power should be?
Yep, just average power. I had a pretty good idea of what I was going to do.
And was that number 280 for you?
That was the plan. That did not happen. That was the plan. Okay.
So for this power, did you want to hit this with a cadence? Or, I mean, a lot of people are always about the numbers, but, I mean, just interviewing people, I feel like even with you, it's more about what are you feeling in the moment? And especially with pros, what's the strategy at the moment?
Exactly. And that's with pros, like there's, sometimes you get some guys that there's, groups, and even keeping it in the legal draft zone, there's an advantage to being in a group. I mean, mentally, you don't have to ride quite as hard. Mentally, it's a little easier. And with a course like Cozumel, it is windy, but it's also very flat. So you have to to ride it well, you have to create your own variation. So I did a couple times I'd get out of the saddle and stand just to change it up a little bit. I would do, low cadence, do some high cadence. You got to create that variation to have a good ride, I feel like.
Right. And a lot of people think just in general that flat courses are easier, like Maryland, Cozumel. But what I've learned through this podcast is that's really not true. Like, you are on the pedals the whole 112 miles.
100%. And that's, and some people do better on flat courses, but that's where I typically feel like I do a little better on a hilly course. And that's why when it comes to a flat course, I have to make sure that whether somebody else is doing it around me or not, I have to make sure I create the variation.
Right. Because I mean, that brings the question of putting out effort for 112 miles is harder than going uphill for 30 seconds every so often over 112 miles, and then you get a backside of 50 seconds rest.
Right.
I mean, sometimes like Lake Placid, you get 15 minutes of rest going down the mountains.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes you're going down so fast that you don't have to actually pedal that much.
And it makes it more fun.
100%.
So whenever you got towards the middle portion of the bike ride, how was your nutrition plan panning out?
Not as well as I wanted it to. I got really hungry on the bike, like really fast. That first loop, I consumed quite a bit. I was kind of the same thing. I was like, I'm going to carry enough nutrition on board. And, if for some reason I am in a group still at that point, when it comes to special needs, if I've got to forego it, I need to know I have enough. Turns out I wasn't in a group, and I actually had consumed most of my nutrition. So, I stopped at the special needs to get my stuff.
You say stop, but you probably just grabbed your bag and kept going.
No, I actually, it was kind of weird. You had to actually stop. You couldn't just ride through it. You had to stop. They handed it to me. I got the potato out. I had 2 more Science and Sport gels in there. I got those out, and then got back on. So it actually was a complete stop.
Wow. So most special needs, they just hold the bag open for the pros and they just keep going. I know, especially at Texas. I've worked that one.
Yeah, this one they were making, because actually another pro had come up to me right when I was stopping, and same thing. Yeah, we both stopped to get our stuff out.
Wow. So from a strategy point of view, how are you holding up? Did you know where you were in the race at this point?
I had a pretty good idea. I was trying to kind of keep gauge of who I thought was in front of me. Up to the halfway point, I think I was sitting in 8th or 9th, actually. Because I think I was sitting in 7th to about mile 35 or so, and then Matt Russell passed me, and then I got passed by 3 or 4 of the guys for the remainder of the ride. So I kind of had an idea, but I also kind of at that point I was like, I just got to set myself up to have a good ride. So a couple times guys came past me, and I tried to go with them, and I couldn't. So I just went back to what I was doing. To the last 40 miles, I was every aid station. Even if somebody had to almost stop, I was like, make sure I get the ice water to keep the body cool. I was doing everything I could to make sure that I was going to be able to run. Ice
water at aid stations?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Just they had bottles with ice in them, ice water. They had cold Gatorade, and I'm not used to actually getting a bottle that still has ice in it. And the whole entire ride, I was able to get that.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, it was much needed.
So with the aid stations here, did you have enough time to get what you needed and discard what you didn't, or were they pretty short and you had to be in a hurry?
The first lap, not a problem, because it's a 3-lap bike. So the first lap, there's nobody out there. We have basically an open course, so that was super easy. The second and third loops, few of the aid stations got a little dicey. I had to actually skip a couple just because there were so many other people in the aid station. But they do really well down there. They do know it's hot. And we had an aid station every 12 or 13 Ks. So there was a lot of aid stations out there.
And I know this is in Mexico, so it's probably marked off in kilometers versus miles.
Yes, but they actually had, let me see if I remember right. They had kilometers, and I think they had the miles by every 10. They had both on the bike and the run.
Oh, wow.
I know they were on the run, and I'm pretty sure they had them on the bike.
Okay. So as far as the bike goes, did you see a lot of flats, mechanicals, or wrecks?
I saw one wreck. That's all I saw. When
Really?
I was on my third loop coming into town, there was a guy actually on a stretcher getting taken off. I don't know. I couldn't tell what happened, but he was laid out on a stretcher getting put in the ambulance.
Wow, that's pretty nasty.
Yes.
So knowing that you're doing your own thing here on the later portion of the bike ride, miles 60, 70, 80, and 90, those miles that are just kind of like you're not quite done and you still have a really long time left on the bike. You'll have an hour and a half, 2 hours still left, but you've already got 2.5, 3 hours under you. How are you holding up mentally?
The first loop of the bike obviously flew by because I was still around those leaders for the majority of it. So it's like that went by fast. Till mile 60, which is where aid station was. Kind of after that, I was kind of trying to I was getting a little tired. The winds were picking up. It was getting hotter. So I was just trying to take that like 5 mile increments. I was like, all right, get to 65, then get to 70. And I think what helped me is I was not as much at that point, like looking at what am I pushing for power? How fast am I going? I was just trying to ride well, and not worry about if I look down and see that I'm going, slow or, not as fast as I want to. And then starting that third loop of the bike, I definitely at that point didn't want to do that. It's like, this is a long way to go. Cause I think you start lap 3 when you're at 75-ish, 77 miles. And every time you start the loop, you come right by where dismount is, right by the finish line. And you have people yelling cause they're on the course in downtown. So it's kind of like they're yelling for you. So they get you out of town. And then it's like, as soon as you quit hearing the yells, you're like, oh snap. Now I'm out here for, 90 plus minutes again in the quiet.
Right. Now there's a little bit of cobblestone here, right?
There is, but that's actually not until the run.
Okay.
A lot of people were asking me, a lot of people thought it was on the bike. It's actually not until the run.
Okay. Cause I've heard the same thing and I just wanted to ask somebody else.
Yep.
So looking back on it, after you pass mile 100 and then 105, you're getting ready to get back to the run course, get back to transition, get off the bike. How are you feeling about how you performed on the bike ride?
I was pretty disappointed, honestly, with how I rode.
Really?
But I tried not to let that. I got really disappointed at about the halfway point, and then I was like, all right, if you just get disappointed, that's not going to help anything. So I kind of got back out of that. But getting off the bike, I was definitely disappointed. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Afterwards, you can see what you learn, see what you need to do different. But you've got a marathon to run. So I try to just not worry about that and just try to mentally prepare myself for running a marathon.
Because you didn't want to bring that negative thought process into the run when you have a marathon to run.
100%. And, and I'm sure, that probably happens to a lot of people. And that's why I was like, all right, you know what? It happened. In the last few miles of the ride, I was like, I was just kind of stretching a little bit on the bike and just getting myself ready, drinking the rest of my liquids. Just that way I was like, I'm going to go in, get off the bike and I'm going to run a marathon. So I was trying to get my mind in a pretty good place. And I think I did pretty well doing that.
Okay. Now, we talked a little bit before we hopped on here about your calories per hour and how that changed a little bit. And it seems like you were actually wanting to get off the bike a little bit earlier and you ingested more calories because you're on the bike longer.
Correct.
So
yes.
You ended up with about almost 600 calories an hour?
Yes, that's what ended up happening.
You feel like that was too much, or did you still feel hungry though?
It was too much, but like at the halfway point on the bike, that's when I like really was getting hungry and going through a lot of nutrition. But actually after eating the potato and getting back on the gels, I felt like honestly about mile 90, I actually wasn't as hungry, and going into the run, I actually felt pretty good. The last few miles, like I felt good about getting off the bike.
Okay. Now, were you like starving or like famished or something? Or were you feeling just like, I don't have enough in my stomach? What was this feeling?
Oh, I definitely felt like I was starving.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And it was weird but I mean, I think that's where I got back on top of it, because at the aid station, special needs, I ate a whole baked potato and a gel right away, and then got on the bike and drank probably 100 calories. So I consumed quite a bit right then. And then I think that caught up to be about mile 70, and it kind of got me back on track, mile 70, 75. But I was hungry. I was starving.
Wow. So what is your actual nutrition plan for the bike ride? I mean, I could talk about the swim, but you're not eating anything to swim, but the bike ride itself, what is your nutrition plan?
Nutrition plan was to try to do mostly liquids. So starting out, I had 3 bottles, the one on the top tube, which was just straight water. And then I had a bottle between my aero bars and behind my seat. And I had 900 calories in both of those. I put salt tabs, my Science of Sport electrolyte powder, as well as the gels. And And then I carried a few other gels just in case. I put them in the pocket on my race kit. So I was trying to do mostly liquid and then know that if I needed something else that I had it.
Gotcha. And then that shifted where you incorporated the potato and the extra gels.
Yes, I went through everything.
Wow. So whenever you started getting back towards transition, the last little bit, are you pushing all the way in transition, or are you kind of letting off a little bit, getting the legs flushed out, getting some hydration in? What is all this like for you?
There wasn't a whole lot left in the legs at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you had a 7.5 hour bike ride in training, here you were on the bike for less than 5 hours and you were done.
My legs were hurting pretty bad. So I was still trying to ride in pretty good, but the last probably 2 miles, you're kind of coming through town and you got some turns, so you can't quite go with it, just wide open as fast as you want. And a lot of bumps. So I was riding in, I had a little bit of nutrition left, a little bit of cold water. So I was just getting the water on, trying to cool myself off a little bit before I got off the bike.
Okay. So the bike ride itself, do you feel like it was long?
It was long.
What was your bike computer saying?
I got 113.3 is what I got.
113.3. Wow.
And that's why when I hit 112, when I was coming up on 111, because I'd been there for the week before. And it's like, I'm not close to that dismount line. It's like, we're going long.
I mean, it's not as bad as Chattanooga where it's 4 miles extra.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
Man, I did that race and gosh.
It could always be worse.
It could. So the swim, was it short?
I clocked 3.8K on my watch.
Okay.
So no, I mean, it was right on. I mean, you kind of have the current pushing you. So that helps with the faster swim times.
Okay. So whenever you get to T2, you hand off your bike and you go through and you're in here for less than 2.5 minutes.
Felt like I was in there for about 10. I went in, I sat down, I went into the porta-john. I felt like I was in there for a very long time. So I was actually shocked when I saw that I was only in there for 2.5 minutes.
Wow. So did you put socks on?
I did. Definitely for the run. Put the socks on, sunglasses, a headband.
Yeah, you didn't wear a cap for this. I mean, you're doing something crazy with your hair right now. I don't know what it is, but I saw your pictures or what your Sherpas were putting up on your pictures. And I was like, what in the heck is going on? Because most people would actually wear a hat.
I actually had a hat in my special needs, so I put that on at the halfway mark. I had a headband for the first bit. I was like, I'll see how hot it is. So I had a headband and sunglasses for the first half of the run, and then I threw the headband off and put a visor on for the back half.
Wow. So whenever you got out to the run, how were the first few miles here?
First few were great. It's a 3-loop run, and honestly, once again, with everything else, I had kind of goal paces and stuff like that. And getting off the bike and handing the bike off, I had the thought, I was like, how are you about to run a marathon? Just because my legs were just shot. But starting the run, I was actually clipping along pretty well. I was running for the first 8, I ran between 6:45s and 7s. And I mean, I honestly felt like I was holding back. But that was kind of the goal range that I was going for. So I was like, I'll just go with it. And I did that for the first loop and then kind of just deteriorated from there.
So what was your goal pace for the run? Did you want to break it up into loops? Did you want to break it up into miles, chunks, or anything like that?
I mean, initially I wanted to try to just run around 7 as a 7-minute pace as much as possible for as long as I could. And then that happened for about the first lap. And then after that, it was just taking it mentally they had they had every 5K markers out there and every mile. So it was just get through a mile, then get through the Ks. And so I just had to start counting down that way as it got longer and hotter and the longer I was out there.
Wow. So it seems like you were started to struggle from the very beginning of the run.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at there's some photos of me, I didn't look like I was in a very good spot, but I felt like I bounced back pretty good, and I did the first loop I was very happy with the first loop. Felt great. And then I thought I was running like crap, but I actually was running pretty well in relation to how I ran the rest of the run.
Right. So whenever you start looking at your nutrition plan for the run, what does your nutrition plan for the run look like?
It was ice at every aid station that I could get it, which was most aid stations. Ice, water, and then Pepsi, and then a gel every 20-ish minutes.
Okay, so you went to caffeine right off the bat.
Pretty much. Actually, I didn't actually have my first Pepsi till about 5K in.
Okay. So you stayed on the Pepsi for about 3 hours and 10-ish minutes?
Yep, I was pretty much on. I mean, the last loop, I hardly drank any water. It was pretty much Pepsi at every single aid station.
Wow. So when did you realize that you had to start going to the restroom quite often?
Oh, it hit me pretty fast. The first time I had to stop was mile 4. And luckily there was a porta-john at that aid station because there was only a few of them out there. And luckily they were at the aid stations that I needed it the most, or else I would have been on the side of the road. So about between mile 4 and 5, I had to stop for the first time. Thought I was good. And then about an hour later, when I was coming back to that same aid station, I had to go again. And then on the last lap as well.
Wow. And you're wearing a one-piece kit.
Yes.
Do you think it's worth because a lot of people out there are all about the kits right now with the one-piece versus the two-piece. Do you feel like it's worth the struggle of the one-piece versus the two-piece? I mean, because in this situation, a two-piece is obviously better, but aerodynamically, the one-piece is better.
Correct. It was a struggle. But at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to rip this thing off. And if it rips, it rips. And it didn't rip. So I was like, okay, that's good. It was kind of hard to get it back on, but.
Because you're sweating.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like as soon as you stop, you're already sweating. But then when you just like stop in that heat and humidity, it's just like somebody dumped a bucket of water on you. The first time was pretty rough. And then actually the last 2 times I was able to get it on and off pretty easy, actually.
So it just takes practice.
Yep.
Man. So did they at least have TP in the porta potties?
They did.
That's good.
No, it was good.
Man. So as far as looking back on it from a nutrition standpoint, I know we talked a little bit about this. What are you going to do in the future based on what you learned from this race from a nutrition aspect?
I mean, probably the biggest thing I'm going to actually do is I like the liquid and I can do that for quite a while. So I think I still need, have a backup that if you need to eat something with the special needs, just so you have that, eating something solid. But I will probably do, instead of having a bottle of regular water, I will probably do 3 bottles. So I have, 2,500 or so calories if I need it. And then I can dilute those as needed with regular water. And also just if I need regular water, especially like in a place like Cozumel, the aid stations are, every 20-ish minutes, just grab the water there instead of running clear water from the get-go.
That's only 20-ish minutes if you're going 23 miles an hour.
True.
If you're going 15 miles an hour, like some age groupers are, or slower, it might be every 35 to 40 minutes. So that's all about perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
So with the run course, walk me through and paint the picture of what it's like to be on the run course here in Cozumel.
It's probably one of the most spectator-friendly run courses I've done. You come out, you're right there on the water. So you got all these shops and, there's some tourists there that don't know there's a race going on. So they're just like, what is, they have the town barricaded off. So you run probably a mile and a half where you're in town and then you have to go out around the airport. And it's just out and back 3 times. But the good thing about this course is you're running by a lot of the resorts. And so there was a lot of almost every resort that I passed, there was actually somebody from the resort, like people from the resort had like a DJ station set up and people out hooting and hollering. So it was kind of one of those where almost like as soon as you started to get tired or your head started to wander, you come around a corner and boom, there's live music and there's people yelling for you. So I mean, it couldn't have been better, honestly.
Wow. So how is your excitement level on the run course? Because you're sitting here wrapping up your first full Ironman, and I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going way under sub 10 hours, and you know that.
I honestly didn't. With how bad my run cratered, how bad my pace went, and the way I did the watch for the swim, and then I did my bike computer, and then I just started the run. So I didn't know what my total time was, and I wanted to do that. That way I wasn't tempted to keep looking like, oh, where are you at? What are you at? So honestly, based off of the math I was trying to do in my head, being tired and, out there still running, I thought I was somewhere around 9:45-ish. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to run and see what that clock says when I come around that corner.
Wow. So whenever you actually start getting to the middle portion of the run, did you take advantage of special needs here? Did you have anything else in there to eat besides the potato?
So I had the potato in there, and actually for the run, I didn't actually take it because I was having stomach issues at that point. I just didn't want to do it. So I had some more gels in there. So I grabbed the gels, and then that's when I grabbed my visor as well. So gels in the visor at the special needs.
Okay. So as far as your Sherpas on the run, they're pretty awesome. Logistically for them, was this hard for them to be good Sherpas?
Oh, no. It was so we had a scooter. That made it very easy.
Where did they get the scooter from?
There's about 50 different guys on the corner that just rent scooters in Cozumel.
On just random corners?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you just pay them like $20 and
yeah, that's about what it was like. It was $15 to $20 a day for a scooter. So we had the scooter, and you actually on the run course, they just basically fed all traffic on one side, all runners on the other. So they were able to go back and forth. Even my brother, we had a little car. He was able to get the car out and go back and forth a few times. So, I mean, it was easy for them to get around. I mean, I was like shocked at how many times I saw them on the course.
Wow. So looking back on it, what was the funniest thing that you saw on the run course then?
Funniest thing. Whew. I don't know, actually. I don't have one because, not the funniest thing I saw, but probably the funniest thing I did. I can give you that one.
Okay.
I think I was at mile 23 or 24 coming back into town, hurting really bad. And they didn't have Coke there. It was Pepsi, and I like Coke. They do the same thing, but there was actually a guy standing out, just cheering people on, drinking a Coke. And I actually just grabbed the Coke out of his hand, drank the whole Coke, and then handed it back to him. And he just kind of looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, all right, cool, right on. So that's the funniest thing I did. And I didn't even realize that I grabbed the Coke right out of his hand, didn't even think about it. And then afterwards, I was like, I just took that guy's Coke.
Gosh. Dark places do funny things.
Oh, yeah.
Man. So after you pass mile 18 through this 24-mile marker, this is usually the darkest portion of the marathon for everybody. How did you deal with the dark spots for you?
So what I did is, which I had already planned on, from the get-go, I was going to, if I started running sloppy or anything like that, I was going to walk for a few seconds, reset, and start doing that. And I did quite a bit of walking, honestly, through 18 to 23-ish, 24. But kind of the way I got through it was just every aid station, I was like, I'm not going to stay here long, but I'm going to walk through it and make sure that I get everything that I need. So, I was getting ice on the visor, ice down the pants, down the back, grabbing the Coke. So for that stretch, I was just really making sure that I got everything I would need to get me to the next aid station. Man. And it was kind of actually just, at that point, I was just taking it by the aid station, not as much the miles. I was just like, all right, get to the next aid station.
So what about the data screens on your watch? What are you looking at from that point? Are you trying to stay off of or away from anything?
Yeah, honestly, I was trying not to really look at it. I had it set to where each mile that split would pop up. So I was trying not to look at it a lot. I just kept it running because, like stopping to go to the restroom, and then you finish a mile and you're like, that says 10 minutes. I'm like, well, I didn't run a 10-minute mile, but I did, And so I just tried to not really watch it until it popped up and let me know what that mile split was.
All right. So mentally, how hard was this race for you? Did you think it was going to be harder than what it was, or was it less than what you expected mentally?
It was, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to answer that the right way, but it was hard. It was extremely hard. But then at the same time, when I finished, like, it was extremely hard, but once I finished and then, just kind of sat there for a little bit, I was like, okay, that was hard, but it wasn't that hard, if that makes any kind of sense.
What do you mean?
I think for me, the reason it wasn't as hard is because I got in a very dark place on the run, but overall I actually wasn't running very fast. So maybe if I was running, 20, 30 seconds faster per mile, I might have been it might have hurt a lot worse. But it's kind of where, I had my mental blocks, but still I was still fine mentally at the same time. I got in dark places, but, towards the end, my heart rate wasn't even that high. It was just putting one foot in front of the other, but it was hard, but at the same time, it wasn't absolutely miserable.
Okay. So you passed the finish line 2 times, and then on the 3rd time you can actually go to it?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good at playing with you there. You come right to the finish line is like 10 seconds away. You can see the finish line, but you do a 180 and go right back out.
Oh, 2 times. And then the 3rd time you get to go to it.
The 3rd time they let you in.
Man. So as you're getting closer to this on your last loop, what's going through your mind before you get to the finish line? Before you get to the barriers, before you get to the carpet, what's going on?
When I hit mile 24, I was still hurting pretty bad. And then about 24 and a half in, it's kind of when you start coming back into town. And I was able to actually pick the pace back up. I got back down to around low 7 for the last almost 2 miles. And I started getting pretty excited. I was like, all right, you're about to finish this. So I got pretty excited. And then I was just, everybody that I talked to, they're like, just make sure you enjoy the finish line. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to enjoy the finish line. So I just had that in my head for the last mile-ish. And I made a point when I made that turn to go in, I just tried to enjoy the finish line for the first time.
Wow. So as the barricades start lining up and you take that left turn to go to the finish line, you can see the finish line, and they have this little ramp there where you can go up to it, and the red carpet with the M dot on it and all that fun stuff. Crowds there, and you're going to finish 10th overall in the pro division at your very first Ironman. What was this like for you at the finish line?
It was a pretty cool feeling, because I didn't really know where I was. And when I started the last 4 miles in, I saw a guy a few minutes back behind me. I was like, okay, I can't let that guy catch me. And then about that point, one of my buddies that was there with me, he yelled at me. He's like, hey, I'm going to the finish line. And he's like, you're in 10th place. He mentioned somebody dropped out. And he's like, you're in 10th place and you have like 5 minutes on that guy. And so when I heard that, I was like, all right, I got to go. And so I just also had that in my mind. I was like, all right, you're going to finish 10th. Like, you better keep moving. So I was like, no walking, get your ass moving.
Wow. So the finish line experience, this is what you were thinking of?
Yeah, I came around the corner. I was like, all right, I'm going to finish 10th. And then I was just trying to make sure that I still ran through it, but enjoyed it. And I saw my brothers and my buddies there, and I was trying to, give them high fives. And I mean, the fans are crazy there. It's awesome. Like, they're so excited. So I was just trying to give high fives out and just relish the moment.
Wow. So after you crossed the finish line, did you go to the medical tent?
I did not.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I was so hungry. I went straight and I got a large pizza and ate the pizza.
The whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
I was starving.
Jeez. So after you get done eating the pizza, how would you rate your recovery process through this?
I think I sat down too long, honestly. I ate the pizza and sat there for probably 20 minutes, and it was very hard to get back up. I think I should have probably grabbed the pizza and kept moving slowly. I sat down too soon.
Okay. So we'll just kind of transition and kind of do like a reflection on this here. What's something that you learned from this race experience that you want to pass on to someone, even a pro that hasn't done this race before?
To not let people, I'd say probably don't let people dictate how you race. Go in and have your goals. And, I went with those guys in the beginning of the bike and that didn't pan out. But when things don't work out, or if your plan doesn't work out, the numbers you have set, you need to find a way to adjust and keep going. Because I know a lot of people, myself included, sometimes you're not hitting your numbers, you're not performing how you want, and you get in your mindset, you're like, oh, well, this is over, and kind of mentally give up. So you got to be able to find a way to adjust and then reset, and then still try to have a good time while you're doing it, even if it's not going the way you want it to go.
That sounds like you find the balance between racing your own race and racing with the strategy of the professionals around you. Very hard to balance that.
Yes, it's a very hard thing to figure out.
So looking back on it, how would you have changed the things that you did strategically or even non-strategically to have a better day?
As bad as some spots in that race were for me, talking to my coach after the fact, I probably wouldn't have changed anything, honestly, even though it went kind of sideways at points, because like I said earlier, like on the bike, I kind of knew. I wasn't really looking at numbers, but the beginning portion of the bike, I knew I was riding too hard, but but I don't want to just sit up and let all these guys lead me. I would have done the same thing, honestly. As hard as that is, and maybe that's just me being stubborn, because I probably would have, maybe I will ride better if I just sit up and do my own thing. But at least for who I'm racing, like if I'm in that position, I'm gonna go with them every time.
Well, that makes sense. And you also want to learn something from that by experiencing that experience, because just like Starkey at Kona, I'm sure you saw what he did at Kona this year. He took charge and just dominated for 30, 40 miles?
Yeah, quite a ways.
And he pushed the pace. And that reminds me of Steve Pre, just push it.
Yep.
So if you could change anything about your race beforehand, like up until you got there, the preparation for it, what would you have changed in the preparation part?
I would have probably done a longer run, even though I probably didn't need it. I don't think, running 22, 23 miles, I don't think that would have helped me run any better than I did on race day. But just the way I'm wired, I like to know that I can do it beforehand. So if I were to have changed one thing, I would have, done just a longer run, just because I'm just wired that way.
So the 18-mile run that you did do, was that 18 miles nonstop?
Yes, it was.
So it was just an 18-mile long run.
Yep, I did. I pretty much never run just open. I always ride before, so that was like a 90-minute ride, and then into the runoff. So
a 90-minute ride at threshold, more than likely.
Just the last 20 minutes, actually. It was endurance.
Oh, okay.
Last 20 minutes were hard to get the heart rate up going into the run.
Okay. What about for first timers doing this race next year? What's something that you would give them?
Be prepared for a fast swim. No, let me redo that. Just enjoy it, honestly. The thing out there at that course, it's as bad as it hurts. It's such a beautiful course. And so for first timers, when you're on the backside of the island, enjoy the view. You've got the ocean right by you. You got the wind. It's kind of a surreal place. And sometimes, a lot of people get caught up in we're all racing, but that's a race that I would say, even if you take a minute, just when you're on that backside, enjoy the views and just, be thankful that you're on the island doing this.
Wow. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how logistically complicated was this race for you?
2.
Really?
Everything flowed so well, honestly.
Okay. What about for Sherpas? Being that they had to be in so many different places to see you.
They did well. And honestly, this race does really well with, even if you have people there with you, family, friends, they do really well at all the host hotels. There's buses that are going to the race morning, when you're dropping your bike off the day before, and family members and whoever's with you, they're allowed to get on the bus. Sometimes they might have to wait a little bit if, there's racers that need to get to the swim start, but everybody's allowed on the buses. So I took my wife down for the 70.3, and I was like, I don't know how you're going to get around. She was a little overwhelmed, but I mean, they're like, you can get on the buses. And so it actually flowed. Once the race starts, people that are watching it can get on the bus, and it takes them back into town because the race starts in town. So, I mean, it seems complicated by looking at it and trying to figure it out. And when you look at the map and you're like, I have to be there, there, and there. But the organization does an excellent job at taking care of the racers and people that are with you.
Well, it also seems like the city welcomes this event.
Oh, yeah. They love it. And they were, this was their 10th anniversary. So they were they were super excited.
Wow. Well, Elliot, we covered a lot about your race. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. Just everybody else needs to come join me next year.
Nice. I don't know if I will or not, but they can. So I know you're traveling quite a bit here pretty soon, like tomorrow, and you're going somewhere else to race.
Yes, sir. I'm headed to New Zealand to get one more race in, and then my season will be 2018 season will be done. I got one more half Ironman next weekend. And that is Taupo? Taupo 70.3. Yes, sir. Wow. You excited about that one? Yes and no. I guess I'm not recovering. I'm not bouncing back as fast as I guess I wanted to after the Ironman. So body is definitely still pretty tired. And after the Ironman, I stayed down in Mexico 10 days after and definitely enjoyed way too much, food. So. And alcohol, maybe? And alcohol. Yes. Way too much beer. So I'm excited to do it, but I'm also, it's been a long year. I've raced quite a bit this year. And I think I'm mentally and physically, I'm ready for a break. I have this itching feeling that you're going down to Taupo to get a race recon because you want to be back there next year, or the year after next, rather. 2020, yes, sir. So is that kind of the long-term goal? That is the goal for sure. And it's just kind of, I was already going to do the race. But then when they announced that, I was like, okay, this is like great. I'm already going down here, and now it's the 2020 Worlds course. So it's perfect to go get some race recon. Nice. Well, Elliot, I'd love to have you back on after that race, man. I don't have anybody booked for that race. I'll be back. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed this time with you. And kind of conclude here, how can athletes follow you? I know you got Instagram, your website, a coaching business. How can people follow you? The best way is I've got the Facebook page. It's just Elliot Bach Triathlete, and then I'm Elliot Bach Tri on Instagram. Instagram's kind of where I'm the most active right now. That's the best way. I'm pretty active on there. Nice. So being that I already know what your definition of a perfect race is, and have I asked you what your bucket list races are yet? I don't think you have. So what races are on your bucket list? I mean, Kona's on there for sure. That's probably the biggest one eventually. Probably not for several years, but that's kind of a bucket list race. There's a lot of cool races out there. I mean, I went to some pretty cool races. I mean, if you would have asked me after the fact, like Ireland, that would have definitely been, it wasn't at the time, but now doing it, that would have definitely been a bucket list race. But Kona for sure. Wow. Well, Elliot, it's been great, and I enjoyed this. I look forward to following you in the future at the 7.3 next weekend, and good luck, man. Hope you have fun. Appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you. Hey, you're welcome. Have a good day, okay? You too. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.